Jon Stewart. He's the faux anchor that interjects comedy into current events every night on The Daily Show.
John, President Carter's on the line.
In his 8 years on the job, he has not only become one of the most popular comedians in America, but changed the way Americans think about news.
I don't think that there's really a better talk show host interviewer on television right now than Jon Stewart, and I think that that's a very underrated skill.
I think Stewart has definitely tapped into something. He's looking at the media and government as someone who's trying to step back a bit.
One of the things that's most appealing about Jon Stewart is that he's able to laugh at himself.
I know my role. I am the dancing monkey.
He's that smart guy who says the things you were thinking and wish you could say.
He actually has something to say.
Those guys honestly will disrobe at the drop of a hat.
And how fortunate is he that he's actually able to make his whole life just by saying and what it is that he thinks of, and people love to hear.
Jews, by the way, are cautious people. I don't know if you're aware of that. So I have my biosuit.
Nothing to lose.
Leads you to where you are today.
I believe in storytelling.
Gonna make you a star.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
A generation ago, America learned of the way it was from Walter Cronkite. Today, as television enters the new millennium, 13% of college students say they get their news from stand-up comic Jon Stewart, making him the most trusted man in fake news.
I think the reason why people watch The Daily Show is because they found, first of all, it's extraordinarily funny, but they found a place that is both extraordinarily funny and doesn't insult their intelligence, which is a rare combination nowadays.
It actually has legitimate news purpose, I think, in my night. It's another reinforcement of what people are talking about, because I think it has a pretty good pulse for what's on people's minds.
I think for me, in some respects, I'm attempting to scratch an itch, and I want to make humor about things I care about, and unfortunately, you know, the larger issues are probably more deeply affecting to me than most things.
What The Daily Show does, I mean, it captures that anger. I mean, people out there, they're disgusted with politicians. They want to put them all in a gymnasium full of kerosene and light a match.
At 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday, an average of 1.3 million people tune in to Comedy Central to hear Jon Stewart deliver the news with his tongue planted firmly in cheek.
Jon is in effect a protest vote. People watch real news all the time. They get fed up with it for whatever reason. They don't like the content of it. They don't like who's delivering it. They see a bias in it.
Well, I think he's smart, and I think he's funny. I think the show feeds the idea that politics is completely corrupt and that the people in power are kind of conspiring against you. The system is rigged.
There's a hunger out there for something that is both entertaining and amusing and original, but also something that cuts through what people see as a lot of BS out there. There's just a lot of complication around what is the truth nowadays. And The Daily Show is one of the few places, including network news, that seems like it's giving you the truth.
Jon's humor on The Daily Show is timely, sophisticated, and biting. One of the biggest paradoxes about Stewart and The Daily Show is that in delivering the fake news, people in their 20s trust him more than network anchors, according to a New York Daily News survey.
The government doesn't respond to the demands of the people. They will replace the government. That's up to the Iraqis to make that decision, not American politicians.
I mean, what are we going to do? Go in forcibly? I mean, remove them from power? That'd be idiotic.
It is interesting that the Jon Stewart Show has become this, you know, both a credible show and a credible news source in the 21st century. And I think it's down to a number of reasons. I mean, it genuinely does dispense news. The great thing is it makes you think about the way in which news is presented.
I can't tell you how many times we'll run into government officials or people in the press who say, yeah, you tell it like it is. I'd love to be able to say that. Geez, you know, maybe you should, seeing as you have a 24-hour network. Maybe you should say it all the time.
In the summer of 2004, Jon Stewart and his fellow Daily Show pranksters had become pop culture icons. The show not only won 2 Emmys and a Peabody Award for their Indecision 2004 election coverage, but it also became an important stop for candidates on the campaign trail.
More than 50% of people who are under the age of 30 in this country get their news from the internet and The Daily Show.
Politicians like him and they respect him because he's a very intelligent guy. But I also think they do the show because they understand that it's a very smart audience that's watching The Daily Show. There's a young audience and there's a voting audience.
As soon as you walk onto that set as a politician, you have adopted his credibility. You know, play the cool card with Jon. But in getting access to those politicians, Jon is raising a question of how he should treat them. Should it be a kind of laughing, buddy-buddy, you know, we're an entertainment show, or is he in a position to really have to ask hard questions?
The line between real news and comic commentary became blurred even further when presidential candidate John Kerry appeared on the show just months before the November election.
It was impossible to get an interview with John Kerry, and Jon Stewart got an interview with John Kerry and proceeded to ask him questions like, why are people so mean to you? How did you get so great? What's your vision for America? I mean, it's, you know, it's a kind of Nerf interview.
A lot of the blogs were criticizing Jon Stewart of being overly nice to Kerry, of not asking him any real hard questions. I think Stewart really took that to heart, and it opened up this issue of, and opened up these questions anew of what is the purpose of this show?
Just weeks after the Kerry interview, Jon appeared on the political debate show and frequent Stewart punching bag, Crossfire. Most expected the comedian to be his witty self, but audiences and host Tucker Carlson got something else entirely.
I knew that he had these kind of pretensions about being some kind of political thinker or something, but I didn't take him seriously then. I don't take him seriously now. So yeah, I was shocked by the preachiness of it and kind of embarrassed for him.
You have John Kerry on your show and you sniff his throne, and you're accusing us of partisan hackery?
Absolutely.
You've got to be kidding, man.
You're
he comes
on
and
CNN.
You literally say,
The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
When Stewart snapped at Tucker that way, it was one of those flashpoints in television. We've got this era now when reality TV means anything but reality. So you get a moment like that on Crossfire and think, whoa, it's like you've been slapped in the face. This was real.
You know, I like passionate TV. I like it when people come on and say what they really think, even if I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about.
Stewart may have failed in getting his point across to Carlson on the show. However, viewers who had become tired of bipartisan screaming matches understood his anger and found themselves in Jon's corner.
Crossfire really symbolizes everything that's wrong with not only with American politics but with American political media, because it's a show that's allegedly about people having real disagreements, but they're not real disagreements, they're fake disagreements. And Stewart exposed them as a pure entertainment.
You know, Jon Stewart's a really popular guy with a big following, so I think in the end, if you get into it with Jon Stewart, he wins. But if you look at the tape, I mean, he made a mess of himself.
Win, lose, or draw, Crossfire was canceled shortly after the contentious interview. However, questions about Jon's role in the media lingered, and the funny man found himself in the awkward position of defending his credibility by pointing out he is not, in fact, a newsman.
We're not inhibited by what you would consider ethics or standards, no. Or what's actually happening. I know my role. I am the dancing monkey.
Jon Stewart does like to say that he's just a comedian telling jokes, and I have a lot of sympathy for that view. It's almost the problem is that as the show's become more credible, it's become less of a credible defense.
It's an easy one-liner. People ask Bob Dylan what he does, and he says, I'm just a song and dance man. If you really are just trying to get laughs, and I think he sees it that way, that's the best way to make larger points.
He doesn't want to rip the curtain back.
What's going on at the little desk?
And let people see that there is medicine being delivered here, and also because he doesn't want to sound too pompous.
John, President Carter's on the line.
So he just goes up there and says, hey, I'm just telling jokes. They just happen to be about the headlines. But anybody who watches the show knows that there's this core of anger, there's this core of principle that is driving the entire enterprise.
People say, where do the jokes come from? It really, they come from a place of pulling your hair out, of seeing things that make you cringe and wanting to turn that into something that will make you laugh.
Jon Stewart Leibowitz was born in New York City on November 28, 1962. Jon's father, Donald, was a psychiatrist, and his mother, Marion, was a teacher. Jon moved to Lawrenceville, New Jersey with his parents and older brother, Larry, before starting school.
Jon Stewart is probably someone who is destined to be a comedian. He was this kid from New Jersey, a Jewish kid who got picked on, who had trouble in his family. His father left for his secretary, so his parents were divorced. It was kind of hard for him.